Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation. My topic for today is writing emails to faculty, and I will talk about my classroom variables now. So my topic is email writing to faculty and my learners. Who are my learners? My learners are second year university students at the University of Rovira e Virgili here in Tarragona, and they are 19 to 20, maybe 21-year-old students, and their proficiency level in English is B1 and B2, so intermediate and upper intermediate. So they should be fluent, and in English they should be able to maintain conversation in English. And class size is 18, so there are 18 students in class, and the time that I need to finish my lesson is 40 minutes. And there are two pieces of information that I would like to mention. So cultural background, they're bilingual Catalan Spanish speakers, and the student profile is that my students are Erasmus exchange program candidates, so they would like to they're very enthusiastic to go abroad and study in a foreign university for 1 semester or 2 semesters. And that's important because, well, we'll come to that later. Resources to be used in my lesson. I will need a set of emails for each student, so I will distribute 5 emails to each student, and then I'm going to show them a video on YouTube, a video of myself, and then we will mostly interact, well, students will interact through group discussions and nothing else. Objectives, so what do I want to achieve by the end of this lesson? So I hope that students will be able to demonstrate an understanding that speaking NL2 requires pragmatic knowledge as well as grammatical knowledge, because we have read in our papers that grammatical knowledge or grammatical competence does not necessarily ensure communicative or pragmatic competence. So it's important to also focus on pragmatic competence, and that's what I want to achieve a little bit by the end of with this lesson. And students will be able to identify whether an email to a faculty member contains appropriate language and framework, because in literature we see that emails they cause misinterpretations. So we must consider several aspects when we are writing an email to a faculty member. And third, compose pragmatically appropriate email when addressing to a faculty member. So at the end of the lesson, towards the end of the lesson, they will compose their own letter regarding the regarding several factors. For example, I remember one of my friends in the second year of university. He wanted to see his paper because he got a low grade, and he emailed to the faculty member saying that, hi, I think there's a misinterpretation or there's something wrong with my paper because I wasn't expecting such a low grade. When can I see it? And the professor, the instructor, interpreted this email as very rude, and he had some serious trouble with the professor later on. So being nice and following some conventions is important in writing emails. And activity number 1. So we start off the lesson with an activity. I'll ask them several questions. What is an email? How is it written? And are there any conventions to follow? And such questions. And the students, they discuss these questions in groups, and in groups of 3 to be specific. And why? Because research again shows that student-to-student interaction, student-fronted discussions are more useful for learners than teacher-fronted discussion situations. And the purpose of this activity is to do background check to see, that is to see if they know, if they're aware of writing email, how to write an email to a faculty member. And next, the second activity is ranking emails. So I will give each student 5 emails. Some of them are nicely written, and some of them are poorly written, and they're supposed to rank these emails in terms of appropriacy. And the situation in each email is the same. Asking for, one student is asking for his or her exam paper from the course instructor, similar to the story that I mentioned earlier. And then after individually assessing the papers, the emails, they get together with the other people, with the other students, again in groups of 3, and they discuss their interpretations. Like one student says, okay, I think email number 3 is very appropriate because of this and that reason. So they discuss. Maybe they will learn and something from the other people, from the other students. We don't know. But again, discussing in groups is useful. That's why I chose group discussion. And also the purpose of this activity is to raise their consciousness, to see if they notice the different patterns in emails, because we know that without noticing there will not be learning. So in learning, noticing is the first step. So I want them to notice certain differences and similarities in each email. And also another rationale for this activity is that we see in the research, in the literature, that EFL learners generally lack pragmatic competence, and that this lack of knowledge actually can be compensated through explicit instruction. So instruction helps students develop their pragmatic knowledge. That's why we're using pragmatic lesson actually. And also in certain cases, students or learners transfer pragmatic norms from their L1, from their own culture, to L2, and this sometimes results in misunderstandings, misinterpretations. So we want to prevent this by showing them varieties of good, poorly written, and well written emails. And activity number 3, I recorded myself reacting to another set of emails, 3 emails. One of them is poorly written, another one is relatively good in my opinion, and the last one is very well written. And why did I decide to use a video of myself is that we know that personalization is interesting for students. It piques their interest when something is related to them or to their teacher. So by showing myself in the video, I attempt to draw their attention. And also we know that using videos in teaching pragmatics is a common practice, so it's widely used. That's why I chose a video. And finally, we know that low affective filter is important in learning. So with a video of myself in which I actually exaggerate certain gestures, and by this I want to achieve a fun and entertaining environment in class. And finally, students, they write an email to their instructor, and I will provide them with a situation. And the situation is, you're supposed to hand in your assignment by midnight. However, it's obvious that you will not be able to finish by that time. And besides, the instructor is very strict about the deadlines. Nevertheless, you take your chance and ask for extension by email saying, I don't know. So based on what we have looked at up until now, they must have, well, they're supposed to have certain conventions and certain rules to follow when writing in L2, I'm sorry, because Spanish or Catalan, it's perceived as very direct language, and transferring their knowledge from L1 to L2 might cause misinterpretations. But in certain countries where institutional relations are highly strict or hierarchical, so this might cause some problem to those students, so they should be careful and they should address to teachers or to their instructors in an appropriate way by keeping the distance, keeping the respect for the instructor. That's what I expect from them in this activity. So instead of writing like in their L1, they should write like English people who address each other in a respectful manner. Yeah, well, what is respect anyway? And then if you move on to slide number 9, you will see my references, and that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.